I've had to put some notes down here because there's so much I could be saying. But I would like to begin by telling you how we met. It has been mentioned here. My wife and I should bring my Kleenex up. I'll get it. Went to the Palisades Park where they had their thank you very much July 4th celebration, and there was, among things, was this exhibition. And we were about to make a new movie called Billy Jack, which we had spent 7 years trying to get made because no one felt a movie about Indians would ever sell. And so we had to raise the money. And I didn't want the same old fighting. I was tired of those. The stuntmen are fantastic, but I didn't want that. We went there, and here in the middle of the Miss Palisades pageant, this little man gets up and he puts on an exhibition that absolutely destroyed us. Destroyed us. It was so exciting, a new way to put fights in a film. And so I met him afterward, and my wife, Dolores Taylor, who's here, was saying the main thing about him, the art was so violent, but he was such an incredibly tranquil, gentle man. So it was very hard to put that two together. And I told him what we're trying to do. He didn't know who we were. We weren't anybody. And he said he came here because he wanted very much to spread the knowledge of his art. He wanted to do some good for the community. And I said, well, that's why we came to Hollywood. We wanted very much to make a change, to make a difference, however small. And so that was our beginning. We met. And I told him I did not want to do the normal, I didn't have time. We only had a couple months to do this movie, and I wanted to do those things he was doing in that exhibition, which he was killing, this poor student of his. I don't know how he got up and walked out. And I said, he said, okay, that'll be fine. We'll just work every day for 4 hours. I said, what? 4 hours? I learned then that he was a perfectionist. And for 4 hours, we cut it down to 2. And we worked very hard. And the most important thing about that, as my wife Dolores mentioned on the way in here, he was the most playful. They were always kidding each other and fooling around. And I'll tag one story onto what they did, the two of them did to me in the second movie. But the main point is, I found out that this was a spiritual man. That it wasn't just physical violence and physical skill. He was a holy man. He was interested in the development of the spirit. And that's what Dolores and I had made the quest of our life, and we hit it immediately. I would like to just give you quickly our belief that all of us at the moment of birth, we are all had in us potential, a greater personality by far that's present at the time of birth or any other time. We all have skills and talents and abilities and attitudes to be developed. They're all there in potentia. And at 6, you look at a baby at 6 months, they can't ride a bike, talk, walk, run. Look at them at 6 years, they have hundreds of abilities and skills they have developed. And at 16, thousands. And at 60, still more. And that has been our whole point of our life. And so when someone comes along, like a Bong Soo Han, I call them a transcendent personality. They have developed this greater personality within to such a level that it transcends normal human beings can do. And Bong Soo Han was that personality, one of those in our lives. I am going to I hope I don't offend anybody, but I always have a dislike for titles. When I was golfing and I meet on the golf first team, the guy would say, I'm Dr. So-and-so. You know, I'd say, well, I'm actor, writer, producer, lawful. And I'm counselor, so-and-so, you know. And so the same thing with master. There are the true great masters, and we have them here. But that, I didn't call Bong Soo Han master. And he, after I said, I hate doing that, he said, I agree. So he was Bong Soo. And I will refer to Bong Soo here by the fact that once someone comes along who is a transcendent personality, who activates in you capacities that otherwise would never, skills and talents and attitudes about life, as Bong Soo Han did, that was his dedication. When he does that, or she does that, they become a part of you. Part of your soul is put out onto them, and they carry that for the rest of their life, of our life. And so Bong Soo Han did that to me. Let me tell you just one or two quick stories that just are too priceless not to tell. One time, we were sitting in Prescott, where you saw the film, in the bar there, and Prescott in those days, you could carry a gun. Guys walked around with guns on their side, and their holsters. And a giant came, a cowboy. He was 6'6" tall, hard as a rock as he worked. And he just was probably 300 pounds. And he came up drunk and started challenging Bong Soo. And he said, "Yeah, they say you're so tough. You know, I hear you're this little tough guy, blah, blah, blah. And you don't look so tough to me." And Bong Soo's trying everything he can to back away, and we're trying to get, "Nah, come on, you little pipsqueak. They say you could kill me," you know, etc. And finally he reaches down to Bong Soo, and the next minute I knew the guy's face was on the table, his arm was back, and his wrist was back. And Bong Soo said, "What do you want me to break, your elbow or your wrist?" And the guy said, "Hey, that's pretty good. Can I buy you a drink?" And that ended that. Later, one of the members of the crew said to Bong Soo, "Why didn't you just let it go to him? You could have killed him." And Bong Soo says, "Yes, of course." He says, "Well, then why did you do it?" He says, "You know I could have killed him, and I know I could have killed him. So there was no sense point proving it to a fool. If you spend your life proving things to a fool that don't understand him, you're wasting your time." And we all walked away saying, "Wow, this tranquil guy came from another place." Another story I have to tell you is in the trial of Billy Jack, and by the way, I was, after Billy, excuse me for 1 second, I have to sip some water. I too, like Bong Soo, had a little tongue cancer episode. They took away my saliva glands, so I get a dry mouth. Excuse me. After the Billy Jack, he got credit as the stuntmaster, but it was not known, and his art wasn't known to the extent we wanted it to. So in the trial of Billy Jack, we starred him. And he played a major role in that film and staged some of the great fights he's ever seen. But the point is that he and Dodie, Dolores, my wife, got together, and they secretly practiced for months the spin kick, where you drop, spin, and take the feet out from behind the other person, and didn't tell me because we wanted to have Billy Jack be shocked when he comes in gentle Pacific Gene does that to him in a routine exercise. I didn't know she could do that. And if you ever see the film again, and you should see it from Bong Soo's work, they do that. She drops down, I'm standing there talking, drops down, takes my feet out, and I go right on the back of my neck. Now the truth is, I was knocked out. Not completely out, but I didn't know where I was. I didn't know what, and I get to my knees, which was not supposed to be the scene, and I crawl, and I mumble the lines apparently correctly. And the camera goes cut, and they howl. I'm sitting there with a stress fracture in my vertebrae. She hit me so hard, and they just thought that was completely delightful. One last story I'd love to tell, because it tells Bond. It was said here that he was not a perfectionist. That was true, and at whatever level you were, he was going to help you get to the next level and encourage you. But I found when he was a perfectionist. I will not mention his name because I don't want to harm him, but one of the great karate people of that time wanted desperately to be my stuntman in the film. And he came and auditioned for Bong Soo, and Bong Soo later liked him and said, no, no, no. You see, his extension, you know, when you do the kick, if your foot is not at a complete right angle, you don't get the strength coming down from the arm, the leg bone. So it was bent, his foot was out. And if you ever see some of his work today, you'll see, it does. But in any event, having said that, he didn't take him. Now we're doing the trial of Billy Jack. And there's a scene in there where Bong Soo Han is killed, is shot by this guy as the character. And Billy Jack gets enraged and comes flying across the room, leaps up, and does it right to his throat to kill him. So prior to that scene, I had popped or torn, I think, 2 of my hamstrings. And it was very, very doubtful whether I was going to be able to do that scene. So I did nothing. Now we hired the stuntman, we brought him back to location, and they didn't see me do anything. And I was supposed to do this amazing kick, leap up the height of the man, and they see this wimpy actor who isn't doing any of the stunts, and they thought, of course, I'm a fool. Now comes the time for the big scene. We put the camera, I'm saving myself because if it tore, at least I would have that in the camera. And I come riding across the room, and I really get up. I get up above his head. My focus is right on his Adam's apple, and he realizes, oh my God, this guy can do this stuff. Well, the man, the actor who's waiting, he had a pad on his chest, so I would hit his chest, and that would be my stability, so I could drop down and gain my balance. But as I get that close, and he sees me really focused on his, and he sees how high I am, he moves. Just as my strike is coming, he got frightened. As a result, I can't hit him. I hit the camera. I broke my toe. I broke the camera, etc. So I'm sitting there groaning on the ground, and the cameraman had the camera smashed in his face. And I said, oh my God, you know. He says, no, it was perfect. He said, your height was perfect. Your focus was perfect. Your extension was perfect. I said, but I broke my toe. Bong Soo, I'm hurting here. She says, no, 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 that's temporary. That will heal. But the film will live forever. And you were perfect. That was Bong Soo Han. There are so many more stories. I'm sorry I couldn't get my wife to say some words because she's just too shy to do it. But because of that, Bong Soo taught us the last thing he taught me. We had breakfast in Santa Monica, and I was complaining how I was just so harassed, I wasn't getting anything done. And he says to me very simply, he says, do not talk on the phone till after 11 a.m. That was his secret. He could get work done that he wanted, or meditate, whatever. Don't talk on the phone. And it worked. That was the last I had. So because of what Bong Soo Han developed in me, because of the capacities that I never knew we had, I have to disagree slightly. The word religion from the Latin means religio, religiare, to bind back the lesser to the greater, man to God, whatever. Bong Soo Han had a religion. It was a spirituality that was priceless. And he developed these capacities in me and in my wife that would never have otherwise been developed. So he will carry that, he developed that part of my soul. And he will carry that part in me for as long as I live. The part of me that was Bong Soo Han is Bong Soo Han. And so to Bong Soo Han, in thank you and gratitude, I have to say, thank you, my friend. Thank you, Master Han.
It would be appropriate at this point to direct your attention to the monitors. We've prepared a video retrospective on Grandmaster Bong Soo Han.